Hello and welcome to film number 9. Oh my goodness, what a week. I guess I always say that, but actually this week has been quite remarkable in many ways. Not necessarily in terms of Christian's bones and belongings being returned, but I feel this week I've really stepped into the role of leader of the raised rebirthers actually being reborn, like really starting. So many things have happened this week that have surprised me, that have tested me, that have I'll tell you some of them, made me really step into my boldness and the courage. And to have the last week's card was Sekhmet, entering the fierce belly of Sekhmet, the temple of Carnelian. And yeah, I've definitely been having her support this week. She actually came into a so before I kind of say what's been going on, she came into a dream, or a lucid dream I had right at the beginning of the week, so after our last film, and there was a big starburst of light, and out of that came a sort of searchlight and onto me, and I was standing in the sort of searchlight, and then Sekhmet came through in this, her face, her lioness face came through in a circle. Interesting, because I would have thought it would be a triangle knowing us in rays, but it was this circle, dark blue circle, and she was there, very radiant. So I knew she was with me for the week. So it feels like everything that we've been doing this week has been a real test, and it now feels like the return of Christian's bones and belongings is like easy. It's an easy task. What's happened this week, I've been shown. Yeah, it's easy. I don't know why we've ever been worrying about how it's going to happen and that it's so impossible. And of course it's going to happen. And I can see it's going to happen. And everybody's lined up now to support that happening. So this 9th film, I feel like we're going to have a bit of a break. There feels to be this. I've been having. We got the. There's a justice card in the tarot, and we've been getting that this week, or I've been getting that. Actually, Razor's been getting that. Our group. There's a justice going on, and now we need to just rest and allow that to happen. The justice card in the tarot is. It feels like everything's just going to align. It feels like a universe doing the aligning. You've done the work. You've set things in motion, and now that everything works, and it's kind of like out of your control now. You've set everything in motion, and it's just the right being righted, or the wrongs being righted, and things just working out. But you have to be resting to do that. So this is my next week. So after this exhausting week, next week is rest. So there will be a break. So yeah, so that's on the Christians. That's on the bones and belongings. It's happening, and it's easy, and everything's set in place. So I'm just going to tell you a bit about why I needed boldness and courage this week, because I was thrown into, I guess, 3 situations where I haven't been put in that position before, or I was working with spirits who there were different spirits, and there were ways of interacting them that were different. So it's not, I have to say, this work isn't for the faint-hearted, that's for sure. You have to have a lot of patience as well, and be able to remain calm in situations that are new. It's funny, no, it's funny because when we were doing a discovery call, so number 1 of the unusual things that happened this week, or testing things, we started as Rays to do discovery calls, because we are recruiting more Rays rebirthers, who are the ones who support people through the initiation into the rescue circles, becoming a raised rebirther. We obviously do the rescues. We interact with the spirits and get their stories. And we also educate, like doing these films. We're talking about what we do, passing on the spirit stories, and making people aware of stuck spirits and the effect that their presence in our physical environment, how it affects us in the physical, and also educating about how not to get stuck when you die, because we're all going to die, because that's a fact of life. So yeah, so we were doing the discovery call, we actually had 12 people on the call, which was lovely. And we were talking about what was, the purpose of Raise, what Raise rebirthers are like, the work we do, the great need for our work at the moment, the vast number of spirits that need to be released into the light so they can have their healing, and a bit about the initiation process, which I've only actually just sat down with Christian yesterday and started to write. But we start on Tuesday, so I'm going to have a break over Easter, because we're just coming up to Easter, and then we start on Tuesday. But during this discovery call, I was saying about it isn't for the faint-hearted. And when I started, and I wanted to kind of like really inspire people, because this is our passion, releasing of stuck spirits. Christian was a stuck spirit. I had to become a Raise rebirther, essentially, to help him and support him to release, and for also us to get our healing. He went missing in Africa, like no trace, disappeared off the face of the earth. How were we ever meant to find some healing and some closure? But we did. This is the way that we worked, where we were guided by spirit along this pathway, and this is going to be the initiation. But I was trying to give some inspiration to those who were listening, and I had a remembrance, because this is all a process of remembering. I was saying to the group that, well, our Raise rebirthers at the moment in the core team, but also those who were on the discovery call, if you're like drawn to this work and drawn to us in Raise, we're part of a soul family. We've been doing this in past lives, that we know each other. And once you start doing the work, you just remember how to do it. But it is a case of refinding the courage. It's like the courage and the boldness to actually step through into work which isn't understood by mainstream society. Stuck spirits are neglected. If they are stuck spirits, and they're being interacted like they're ghosts, and they just live there, and that's what we do. That's what they do. That's what they are. Which is not. They're looking for help. They're looking for support. They're looking for the light. They're wandering around, stuck in one place. They need to be released to the light. And also there's with this, like people hearing voices and it being medicalized and it being an awful thing. But I do believe it's a lot of the time it's spirits trying to get into contact and connect and looking for the light. Anyway, so I was trying to inspire, and when I was at school, we had the RAF, which is our Air Force in the UK. They came around and did a recruitment drive, and I was watching these films of the pilots and it was just me. I was absolutely hooked. There was something about it that was just absolutely hooking me. And my dad, or our dad, took me. He like really encouraged me in that, or he held me through it, I guess, supported me through it. And he took me to the RAF museums. He took me I did projects on the Battle of Britain, actually, at school, which is kind of strange. And we went through he took me up to Biggin Hill to do the trials. What do you call it? Yeah, the trials. And just completely supported me. And I didn't get in as a pilot into the RAF, but I was offered a navigator's role. And I was like, I don't want to be a navigator. I want to be in control here. I want to be the pilot. So I backed off from the RAF. But looking back at it now, it was all about flying. It was all about being in service to others. And it was, when I think about what our process has been through to get to where we are, it has involved flying. I mean, Christian and I were in our sort of eagle forms a lot of the time to be able to connect and to enjoy each other's company. We were kind of like in eagle form, so that was my urge to fly, I guess. And and Dad was like my wingman on that RAF episode. But he can't go where I'm going and where Christian is, and where I regularly go. He's he doesn't I don't think he understands what we do. I think there's an element of being scared of what we do, and which is perfectly normal. I mean, this is what most of the population feel towards our work. Maybe it's something that it's not understood, and I don't even want to go there. So yeah, to do this work, we kind of need supporters. We need wingmen and women, and that is Raise. It's like the big family, the big community now, which is growing and growing. So yeah, if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is what I want to do, I want to be doing this, do come into Raise and join one of our discovery calls, or have a look around. There's loads of information there to start off with, some meditations and a ritual, and just so you get to know who we are and what we do. And then yeah, you can join us on one of our discovery calls, which are once a month, the first week of the month. If you come into Raise, you'll see all the events. And yeah, it's just I'm just noticed something down here. Sorry, there's a story about when Christian died, or when I was kind of telling Mum and Dad that Christian had died, and they couldn't understand how I knew everything like that, obviously. But Mum was just like, oh, what a waste of a life. What a waste of his life. And something that came up really strongly this week for us has just been that it's a waste of a life if you stay as a stuck earthbound spirit. But once you're released, you find the light, you walk into the light. That's where healing begins, and that's where transformation and rebirth begins. And we're finding that this links into after the discovery call. I had an amazing email from one of the gentlemen actually who joined us from America, and he was just absolutely delighted because his wife of 43 years, I think, they always tried to work together, and that became difficult towards the end when she became ill. But he was just absolutely delighted that he could continue his work with his wife while she's in spirit. She has gone to the light, so this is possible. And he was just absolutely ecstatic that this was a possibility. So he's going to be joining us through the initiation process. And yeah, you're kind of like, you can still fulfill your purpose from the other side, like Christian is. I see it so many times with especially with lives that or society would feel are cut short. So it will be sudden deaths, younger people dying. It feels like it's a total waste. They never got a chance to live. They were right in the middle of something on a purpose, and it was taken away from them. All like Christian. That's him to a T, his life. But what they don't realize is that it's perfectly possible to reconnect to that spirit once they're in the light, and carry on your relationship, carry on a joint purpose, carry on living. That's what it is. It's like soul contracts. So you have a soul contract to continue after their death, continue that relationship and continue your work. So this lovely gentleman, who's yeah, I don't need to give any details, but yeah, I feel he's been brought to us for a definite reason. Something to do with the bones and belongings. So that's really interesting. And then, yeah, the discovery call was interesting on who came, who was attracted in. It was the first time I've been talking to people. In fact, a lot of people found us through these films. So this is why I do these films every week, because I know people see them. And one lady was actually in the middle of watching some YouTube film about gardening, and we suddenly popped on the screen, and she was like, "Oh, what on earth is this?" And started to watch something about us. Was intriguing her, and she has just started to experience spirit knocking on the door again. Something that she shut the door on when she was younger, but they've returned. So these films are definitely being used by spirit to point people in the direction of rays, so that they can be supported to open up safely and to start doing the work of rebirthing stuck spirits. So that was yeah, so it was out of my comfort zone, because it was the first time I'd been really speaking to people about our work and exploring our work, I guess, and really seeing what our work is all about and how big the problem is and why we need more rays rebirthers. And it was a bit uncomfortable in that these were people I didn't know. Like, I feel people know me quite well. They seem to know me well, I guess, from watching films and knowing our story, but I don't know them. So there's a real element of trust in these discovery calls, and which will actually lead into real life events at some point. But it feels like I'm being gently, Christian's doing it very gently, and the support team are doing it very gently, that I open up gradually to these experiences, and they're all building into actually doing things in public, which I will talk about. Yeah, so it was an interesting call in terms of just the first time that I'd done it, and it was the first time I'd spoken. And normally it takes me 3 goes on a project, on a speech, on a something to or a process to get it down totally. So I know it's a learning curve, and I was, I told everybody when I started, this is the first one I've done, and everyone was lovely. But it became very obvious once I'd finished speaking and I opened up the floor to questions. So the energy switched from me going out to everyone on the screen, their energy coming in. I went suddenly freezing cold, and I didn't record the discovery call because I'm not going to record them, but I got up and I went to get a blanket and I put it around my shoulders. I was absolutely freezing. And what I didn't realize at the time, and I probably should have had an inkling, there were how many there were at any one time, there were at least 3 other rays rebirthers on the call, or at least another 2 rays rebirthers on the call. And I'm becoming very aware that when there are 2 or more of us, a circle is made, a triangle is made. So it's at least, if there's 3 of us in a space, online or in the physical, there is a triangle made, and that is like a portal. That is a sign that spirit, like the light just appears and spirits are attracted in. And there were plenty of spirits that came through us on that, or through me, I felt it, on that discovery call. And I think because the stuck spirits have been hanging around people who have maybe started to open up through meditation. They're sensing that there's a change of tide, that now they are able, it feels like there's a rising excitement that they're actually able to go into the light. They've been stuck for they are stuck for many reasons, which I'm not going to go into now. But it feels like there's a real whisper going around, especially around rays. And our lions, we have 4 lions, who are our main animal messengers, and they go out into the world 24 hours before we do our rescue circles on Wednesday evenings, UK time, and they spread the word, and then they bring the stuck spirits. But on this discovery call, the spirits who had been, or I think guides bring you to these films. I think your guides bring you to these films to watch, but I think the stuck spirits are around you, maybe talking to you, maybe showing themselves to you, maybe touching your body. They might be showing you signs that they're around, and they're just like wanting you to know they're here, they're waiting. And that discovery call, we opened the gate and they came through. One in particular, I wasn't consciously aware, because I was so busy answering questions that were put to us, but I knew I was cold, but I wasn't aware of spirits until a bit later on in the film. One of the ladies, she stood up and moved away to the side to do something, and as she came back and she said, "Oh my goodness, she sees spirits," and she said, "I've just seen a line of spirits walking through my door into the phone, to you." And then I was like, okay, that would explain. So we had many pass through, and I guess this is why we're here. And it's incredible work, and it makes me incredibly satisfied. I mean, I'm tired this week, but I'm feeling so satisfied. I've had so much abundance this week as well, so many lovely things happening. A surprise check in the post from one of my previous life as a non-fiction writer. One of my books has been translated into Chinese, and they've given me I had received a nice check this week. So spirits don't, as I've said before, spirits don't pay us in, they can't pay us and keep us obviously we need to grow rays, and we're going to need funding, but it's not directly coming from the stuck spirits. So they find other ways to give us abundance, and all of us in Rays Rebirthers are all, it's not just us, but our families, and all around us there's experience of abundance coming in. Yeah, so it was a really interesting circle, but it was a risk. It felt quite risky, I think. It was certainly something new, it was certainly something uncomfortable, but these are the things, and particularly this week with Sekhmet, I knew I had to be bold and just walk through whatever, because it was all happening for me, not to me, which is a mindset change. But it's like anything I was being very much made aware of things this week, of the power of our work, of the reach of our work, the fact that spirits are waiting, and they need us. And we need you to be the Rays Rebirthers, because as we grow and get bigger and bigger, we can support more spirits, we get more of their stories, we can educate more. That's how the buzz about what we do comes out. Plus Christians' bones and belongings, they'll come back at the perfect time as a spark for all of this to really lift off. But it feels like there's this momentum, this flywheel is now in motion, and I literally have to stand back like the Justice card. It's all going, and there's nothing I can now do. I just have to be just open to whatever is happening, and stepping into this life that I was born to live, for sure. So anyway, so that was the discovery call. Then the next day we had our usual run-of-the-mill live stream in Raise, which I do every week. So if you join Raise, you can interact with me every week on a Wednesday afternoon, which is normally lovely. We normally get some, the people who need to be on come on at the same time. They usually, in fact, they always have some theme that links them together. And we chat through stuff, give some support, maybe some tarot cards, some guidance, whatever. And it's always a helpful film to watch, because we record those and you can watch them back, so they're always useful. This week, so myself and another Raise Rebirther were on, and then one of the ladies from our discovery call also came in. The lady who saw the spirits walking through into the phone. And I don't know quite what I should have maybe been aware. I'm quite slow sometimes. I think I've said this before. Spirit must just go, oh, Hannah, come on. Quite a lot. Because it takes me a few times to go through something before I recognize it or understand it. And maybe that's true of everybody, this spirit work. They're quite subtle at first, and then they get more and more obvious. But now I know. It turned into a rescue circle. And I'm not going to go into the details. I mean, if you want to watch the film, you can come into Raise and watch it. But it turned out to be the first public rescue circle that I've done, Christian's done with me. He was there. There were a great range of spirits that were around her, and I think her I'm not going to give, that's not fair, I'm not going to give the details. Here you can watch on the screen in Raise, but it felt like there was a big clearing of her environment from these spirits who've been around her and her family, and had been changing clogging the atmosphere in her house. So there was a little girl who actually came into my body. She was, because this other lady was a potential Raise Rebirther, so she's going to come and do the initiation process, the 9-step initiation process, which kind of gets you all ready for this work. So the little girl wasn't, she trusted me, and that's how I realized it was actually a rescue circle that was going on, because she came into me and Christian reached down and took her up, and this lady could see that happening. She could see it all happening. Yeah, it was, this sounds a bit confused, but the previous week in our rescue circle, we had talked about our work actually being public, so actually us doing big rescue circles in public, and with the audience being those who are called to be part of something. Like they will have spirits around them, and they will bring them to the circle to be released. And we laughed about it because we were like, oh, I'm not sure we're all ready for that. We like doing it in private in our in our pajamas almost. All gathered together where we have a laugh, and we have, as it's obviously serious, the rescue circles, but in amongst it we have a laugh and we catch up, and it's just lovely to see everybody each week. But so yeah, we were laughing off that it's going to be in public, but actually that's what happened this week as well. It was a very small scale, but it was that first step into people outside the Raise Rebirthers actually seeing what goes on in a circle. And it was really useful actually for others who had been at the discovery call to then watch what was happening. And they were all like, I've had emails saying, oh my goodness, that was so calm, that was so beautiful, that was so, because I think people have ideas of rescue circles as being this sort of chaotic, frightening, or potentially frightening, potentially sort of, oh, what's going on? overwhelming sort of thing, but it's not. It's very controlled. There's we're so protected in Rays. We have our lions, we have all our guides, we have Rays guides that protect it, plus we have all our individual guides who are protecting us individually. So yeah, and there's a process. We work, as I said, like it takes me 3 goes normally to make a process, and we have made a complete process for our Rays rescue circles. And yeah, people were surprised watching it how calm and beautiful it was, and how immediate the effects of them were. So yeah, so that was another important thing that happened this week, and it did feel like as I said, people who are attracted to us, I feel we've all sat in circle before. We've been doing this work for many past lives before, and for whatever reason it's been shut down. But it feels like when we sit together in circle, it's just a remembrance, and it feels so natural and beautiful, and like this is the life we're here to be living. We're here to be in service right now. This is what we've been training for all this time, to be right here right now doing this work. And then I just want to share one other thing with you, which is this couple of nights ago, our normal rescue circle, there was quite some different probably 2 things that really stand out for me about it, that were different, that needed the boldness and courage, I guess. The first one was so the first set that we had through were very old, and they were kind of hobbling through. We have the sort of the frail, the old, they come through first. That's our process now. And I actually had unusually I had to actually take some of them up to the door, into the channel. I'm not even going to give too much details away, because you need to become a Rays rebirther to really know what we do, or come and see us live when we start doing that. But I actually had to take them nearly into the light. And then I also had babes in arms. I was carrying babies into right up to the light and letting them go in. Normally we all stand back and they walk through, but that was interesting this week. We had we had one really quite happy group who were being released from what they felt was family, how should I say this? They've been sticking around to see if they could sort out family squabbles and sort out, make sure everything was put in as they wanted it to be done, in their will, maybe, or just to see how the family were reacting and just try and keep the peace still. And they realized they couldn't do it, and there was such a relief of like, oh, I don't care about this anymore. I'm going. I can't do anything about it. Squabbling families. I'm throwing in the towel. This is just ridiculous. I can't do anything here in this earthbound space. So they went up into the light, and I guess it's almost like it's up to you to keep squabbling. I mean, if you're going to keep squabbling in your families, there's nothing that anybody in the spirits and the earthbound spirits can't do anything about it if you're not listening and you're not awake to them. Interesting. It was really interesting. And something else that came back from that is that we need to start telling these stories in a blog form, which means a new website with a blog. So that's something that's going to be coming up as well. So we will be sharing these stories, because part of the setup of our process is that the stories that we are shown and the spirits who interact with us directly, the agreement is that we can share their stories for the highest good of all. So we share these stories to educate. So yeah, don't expect yourself when you die, don't stick around expecting that you can sort problems out in the families and make sure everyone's being nice to each other, because you can't. You can do that more from up there. And then, yes, what was really interesting, we had, and it was unusual. I've never had it before, but we had water spirits. We had trees, we had animals, and we had birds coming through, all extinct, or who had lost their, like for the rivers, they'd been lost, or they'd been so dirty and toxic that the spirits had left them. I mean, it was so sad to see. And extinct animals, so they couldn't, there was no point in their spirits and their it felt like the spirit of one particular animal, the main spirit, just leaving. And it was really, really sad, really sad. But it feels like when they're in the light, they can be rebirthed, reassigned, maybe, to different areas, to different projects, to different feels really good when they left. It was really sad as they were going into the light, but then it was like there's a clearing, there's a rebirthing into another form, and they're stuck here because of their grief. And I really felt we needed to apologize on behalf of all humanity for what we've been doing to our nature spirits. And there's a real responsibility for sharing these messages, and how we're being so stupid. Like, what have we done? What are we doing to our natural planet, our resources? Oh, and there was insects. Somebody was brushing insects up into the light. Oh, it was really sad. But again, it's something that maybe that is the boldness and the courage, is actually sharing this with other people, because it will sound mad. It will sound mad to so many people. But I just think these stories need to be shared, and maybe this is the first part of it, being brave. I don't know. And then something really interesting happened, that we were actually given, I'm not going to go into details because it would take too long, but we were actually given armor to wear. And we interacted with a group of, in fact, the main theme for all of this research of this circle was dispossessed. So I understood it with the nature spirits being dispossessed. And then we had a massive group of, it was a massive group. It was thousands, and it took about 5 minutes for them to come through. And it was tens of thousands, I would say, probably more. But they didn't come through our doors. Where my door is on my left, my doorkeeper actually stood in front of my door, and they didn't come through the door. They actually came through my back and out through our hearts, through our chests. I'm not going to say what. Yes, I am. They were Chinese. And they were coming. I don't know the significance of it at the moment, but they were coming through our backs and through our hearts, which is out through our chest, which is what into the light, which is why we needed this extra protection, this armor. And I feel really nervous actually having said that, but this needs to be said. And it felt like we had this sort of extra armor protection on us, but it actually felt like we were being, the word coronation came through, or some sort of crowning, that like this was the proper leadership moment. This was a big moment for us in the circle, what we were doing. And it felt really like we were bringing people home. We were really doing some healing through this heart space. Whether we actually, just thinking about it now, we always see so far we've always seen the healing happening in the light, but actually this felt like they were receiving healing from us in the physical before going into the light, which we probably will this will probably be a theme that will expand, but it felt very much like they needed some kind of stability first in the physical. I guess if you're dispossessed, the things are taken away from you, like your land, your belongings, even your voice, your rights, that kind of thing. It felt like they needed to find their space in the physical, somehow to get their safety and their security in the physical before they could release. And I'm just wondering if that is Christian's experience as well. And actually that goes back to the little girl who was in our live stream, who had to come and sit inside me to feel safe, to feel trusted. So I was trustworthy. So because I was saying to her, go to the nice man in the sky who's Christian in the light. And of course, if you're nervous and a little girl who maybe you don't trust men, maybe you don't trust, she just needed to feel safe. And I'm a safe place. I know that Christian knew me as a safe place. He sat inside my body energetically for about 3 days, so that he could know that he could trust me, and to support me so I could support him, which was an amazing feeling. But yeah, this little girl was in my body, so maybe they had to pass through my body to get some kind of balance and trust, and actually trust in humanity again, maybe, before they were able to release into the light. That's interesting. I guess as we start telling these stories, more people will come forward with ideas, or like filling in the missing pieces. But yes, it definitely felt. And then so my root chakra was very energized as they were, after they'd come through, which showed me stability, and like home, being rooted. And also we had a massive heart healing afterwards, with our guides. So I do feel like that was, actually thinking about it, I'll pass that on to my team. And yeah, we had that. So there were so many different things this week that we hadn't experienced. And if I'd been told, in fact, this applies to everything, if I'd ever been told or given a heads up about most of the things that have happened to me on this journey, I would have gone, you've got to be joking, I'm not ever going to do that. Like, I wouldn't even know how to do that. But of course you do know how to do it, and it's a remembering, and your guides are holding you so well that there's no harm that comes to you. In fact, the satisfaction and the knowing that you're serving and you're supporting and you're releasing and you're like, it's joyous work. It really is joyous work. But I certainly this time, right now I'm finishing this film, I am acknowledging that I am tired. I am acknowledging that I need a rest, because we all need a rest from this work. So I will be taking a bit of time off from these weekly films, seeing as we're on number 9. I hope we are on number 9. I'm saying we are. I think we are. And it's actually just turned 9 o'clock in the morning, so I'm going to say that we are number 9. And just let things unfold, and let the justice card, the universe, serve its justice, without any more input from me, because I feel I've done everything I can, and I've been introduced to everybody who can support me in the next leap forward. And yeah, if you feel like you want to come into Raise, please do. It's free to join. In fact, it's free all the way through, at the moment. while we sort of beta test everything, and if you want to jump on a discovery call, please do. They happen once a month, first week of the month. And yes, when I've created the 9-step initiation, which I'll have to start doing next week, come and join us on that. And yeah, it's self-paced, it's self-selecting, and it's self-guided. So we obviously provide a trellis for you to work around, but it's really up to you to decide whether you're ready, whether you know yeah, I guess it's really the initiation is, yeah, it's an initiation, it's a rite of passage, but you take yourself through it, and at the end, if you complete it, or when you complete it, because it might take you years to complete the 9 steps, I don't know, it might just go flying through, but there's then an opportunity to be, it is invite only to join the actual Raise Rebirthers. In any capacity, I feel, whether it's in rescue, whether it's in support, whether it's in interaction, whether it's in education, there's the race is going to be global. It's going to be global. There's going to be a role for everybody in Raise, if they come with the good intentions, and they come to support and be in service, and there are going to be rewards for service, for sure, and that will come, and I mean, it already is coming, but like properly salaried roles, and all the infrastructure in a big organization, big beacon organization, and we've set it all in motion, particularly this week. So thank you to Sekhmet. And yeah, so I wonder, for you, what have you had this week that's really tested you, and you've really needed to be courageous about and take some risks? Let me know in the comments. And then I'm just going to do a card for this next week. I probably won't be recording on it, but let's just see what it is. It's a card maybe to leave you with until the next time we meet. I don't think it will be long, but just feels like a little bit of time we need to have a little break. I need to have a little break from these. Might just be 1 week, but yeah, let's get a card. Ooh, I think I've ever had that one before. Is a good sign. The Pillar of Light, descent at the start of Isis. Actually, this is interesting. I was going to tell you this and I'd forgotten, but now I can remember it. So back in, I guess, August last year, I was walking around a stubble field. So they cut the corn, and you just have the short stubble that's left, and it was obviously golden colour. And I was walking the dog, or we only had one dog then, maybe, walking the dog through the field, and I suddenly noticed this light above my head, and it was following me. And I was with my daughter, and I was like, there's no light over her head, what's going on? And as we walked, this light, very bright light, because I could see it on the golden corn, on the stubble, just was following me. And I filmed it, and I've got the film. I shared it in Raise, and I didn't know what it was until I realized it was this pillar of light that it's the channel of light, which is what all the stuck spirits go up, and that's why they come through me. Yeah, anyway, without too much explanation, it came online properly last summer, and then a couple of days ago we finally got some sun in the UK, and the grass is finally growing, and on the silage fields there's new grass growing up, very rich grass used for silage, to feed the cattle in the winter. It's starting to grow, and it's very shiny in the sun. And anyway, I noticed for the first time this year the light, and the light is there, moving up. It's very wide now. I mean, it's not just over my head, it's body wise, and you can see this whole white, it's all over my body now. It's like my whole body is the channel, whereas before it was just the head. So my head, so it feels, yeah, okay, so pillar of light, there you go. It's just getting bigger and bigger, this whole the power of it. So this is just the descriptions. Beings of light and divinity are calling you now. They wish to connect with you more strongly, and you're being guided to strengthen your energy field to allow more of the divine light that seeks you to flow through your body safely and into expression. Okay. Yeah, it's offering healing light and assistance to humanity and setting your own heart and soul on fire with divine love and passion. Oh my goodness, yeah, it's suggested that you first build and strengthen your natural pillar of light within your body, energy body, like building a broadband cable so that you can receive energy transmissions into your being more easily. Without such preparation, it would be like trying to run high voltage electricity through wires that are not equipped to handle it. Some fire and damage would occur and the practice would not be safe or sensible. Right, so pure white light. Da, 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 da. Well, this makes sense. Yeah. The star of Isis, also known as Sirius, rests in a state of bliss, joy, and has a sole presence of heart, great strength, and stunning spiritual light. This is the consciousness seeking to manifest more fully in service through you now, beloved initiate. You are becoming more and more ready to sustain such high vibrations. Okay, so this week, and for anyone watching, this card is definitely a sign that like you're being sought. The light is seeking you and it's wanting to come through you. So do come into Raise, do come into our discovery calls, and do come on our initiation, because we need more of you. And it really does feel like more and more people are being called. So if you're watching this film and you've never watched this before and you're thinking, I've got no idea who you are, what's going on, but I know I'm being called towards something, come into Raise. The details or the link is will be in the comments. Anyway, now that's enough. I need a break and I am going to enjoy my Easter, the time of rebirth and resurrection. So this could well be a film that many people watch actually, because it's the holidays, and yeah, this is the time of the rebirth. Okay, loads of love, and I'll see you when I see you, probably in a couple of weeks' time. But anyway, lots of love, take care, and come into Raise and join us. Okay, lots of love. Bye bye.